Like listening to podcasts just like this one from the team at Which? Well, we've got some good news. All our podcasts are now available to listen to on YouTube and YouTube Music. So whether you like listening to Get Answers, Which Shorts or Which Money, all episodes can now be listened to directly on YouTube or through the YouTube Music app. To find them, just search for the podcast you'd like to listen to. YouTube's additional functionality also means that you can now read along with subtitles as you listen. Don't panic though, all Which podcasts are still available to listen to elsewhere too. So wherever you listen, we'll see you soon. Hello and welcome to the Which Shorts podcast. I'm James Rowe. This is the podcast that brings you the very best from Which, with a weekly taster of some of the brilliant journalism you can expect from your suite of magazines. Today we're looking at downsizing, working out if it's right for you and what you really need to consider before making a decision. In the May edition of the Which Money magazine, Josh Wilson looked at the reasons why you should consider moving to a smaller home, when could be the right time for you, while also breaking down the costs involved in making what could be your final house move. Here's his piece, read by the host of the Which Money podcast, Lucia Ariano.
Downsizing looks great from a distance. You can finally cash in on decades of rising house prices with a new, more suitable home to enjoy your now well-funded retirement. To get there, however, you're faced with an array of taxes and fees, not to mention the strain of rehoming a lifetime's possessions. Here we uncover what downsizing involves and hear from the people who've done it. We also use house prices and other costs to estimate how much you could unlock to help you decide whether it's worth it. When and why should you downsize? Lots of people mull over the idea of downsizing for years, says David Fell, lead analyst at estate agents Hamptons. Often there are strong emotional ties to a home that may have been lived in for generations. However, he cautions that the older you get, the harder it is to go through the physical and emotional stress of moving. If you put off the move for too long, it can often mean putting it off altogether. Someone in their 70s is only 50% as likely to move as someone in their 60s. So what should prompt you to move? In January 2024, we asked 1,202 Which members and found a quarter had already downsized, and around 4 in 10 of the remainder would consider it in the future. Members had a range of reasons for downsizing. 1 in 5 downsizers said their main reason was maintenance and upkeep on their old property becoming too difficult. A smaller house means fewer rooms to clean, less to maintain, and typically a smaller garden to tend. The time freed up can allow for a more interesting retirement, or as many found, is needed to care for loved ones. Meanwhile, 1 in 8 downsizers wanted to release cash for their retirement. Other reasons included divorce and moving to be closer to family. How much could you unlock? Whether it's to fund retirement, help family onto the housing ladder, or stay afloat during the cost of living crisis, downsizing can be a powerful way to tap into the equity locked up in your home. People trading down significantly in both size and value, a property that's more than 50% cheaper with at least 2 fewer bedrooms, now account for a quarter of the downsizing market, according to Hamptons, up from 1 in 6 in 2017. We've crunched the housing data and found you could potentially unlock hundreds of thousands of pounds by switching from a 4-bedroom to a 2-bedroom property in the same area. Unsurprisingly, given the premium associated with the capital, London movers could save the most in cash terms. They could make as much as $414,000 by moving from a 4-bedroom to a 2-bedroom property. However, taking a proportional look paints a different picture. Movers in the capital would only get back 46% of the overall value of their original 4-bedroom home, the lowest of any region and an indictment of London's arguably overheated property market. Conversely, downsizers in the northeast could potentially unlock some 56% of their original home's value. Downsizing may also have the added benefit of cheaper utility bills. According to British Gas, the average large house, a home with 5 bedrooms, will use £2,415 of energy per year, while a 3-bedroom home will use £1,769. All of these figures are based on average property prices and assume you'll be paying in cash, i.e. without a mortgage. You may find yourself getting significantly more or less depending on factors that include whether you move to a different part of the country, prices and demand in the specific areas you're moving to and from, mortgage rates, and the overall housing market. The cost of downsizing. Moving home is no small task. Most obviously, moving is time-consuming. David Fell says it could take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. Then there are the costs. If you appoint an estate agent to market your home, you'll incur agent fees. These are usually charged as a percentage of your property's sale price. The Homeowners Alliance says the average estate agent fee in England and Wales is 1.42%, including VAT. If your existing property sells for $850,000, that's £12,070 in fees. If you use multiple agencies simultaneously, this may be higher. Stamp duty is the financial elephant in the room for many would-be downsizers. In England and Northern Ireland, you'll pay 0% on the first £250,000, then 5% on the amount up to £925,000, 10% on up to £1.5 million, and 12% on anything above that. In Scotland, the equivalent land and buildings transaction tax, the LBTT, is 0% on the first £155,000, then 2% up to £250,000, 5% up to £325,000, 10% up to £750,000, and 12% above that. Land transaction tax in Wales is 0% up to £225,000, then 6% up to £400,000, 7.5% up to £750,000, 10% up to £1.5 million, and 12% beyond that. All of these rates are for your main income. Here at Which, we have a stamp duty calculator that can work out your bill. Just go to which.co.uk/stamp-duty. You'll also need to appoint a conveyancer to deal with the legal aspects of moving. Data from price comparison site Really Moving shows the average cost of conveyancing for home movers was £2,038 in 2023. Plus, you can typically expect to pay between £500 and £1,000 to get your new property checked for issues by a professional surveyor. Although depending on location and the comprehensiveness of the survey, it can cost considerably more. In Scotland, you'll need to provide a home report if you're selling. Really Moving says the average cost of removals in 2023 was £699. This is based on median quotes provided by removal firms for customers with 2 or more bedrooms, moving less than 30 miles. Moving further will increase this, but shopping around and moving on a quieter day of the week could save you money. All in, you're looking at thousands, possibly tens of thousands, in moving taxes and fees alone. Small wonder 19% of members considering downsizing cited cost as their biggest barrier. A significant number also highlighted that simply finding an appropriate property was tough. Ideally, we planned to downsize 8 years ago when we were much more active, says Anne Collins, who downsized in 2023 with her husband Perry. A lot of retirement properties on the market are unsuitable for active older people. They're much too small, and most of the ones we looked at had no reserved parking. Anne and Perry downsized from their 4-bedroom house in Swansea to a smaller 3-bedroom house, prompted by Perry developing dementia. Unfortunately, they ran into problems almost immediately. The house took nearly 3 years to sell, says Anne. We had a buyer lined up, but they dropped out 2 weeks before completion due to the Liz Truss mini-budget debacle. We even found another buyer, but by then interest rates had skyrocketed, so we ended up making far less than we thought we would. When the pair eventually moved into their new home, they discovered a number of unexpected issues. These included water pouring from the ceiling from a badly installed bath the first night, and water bursting through cracks in the kitchen floorboards as the dishwasher hadn't been plumbed in properly. Anne is ultimately glad she downsized, but found the experience exhausting and stressful. She'd like to see better legal protections in place for buyers and sellers, and recommends that anyone moving should check properties thoroughly and get a comprehensive home survey. How else can you unlock cash? If it's too much of a wrench to move out of your home and its lifetime of memories, there are other ways to unlock value from your property. Equity release is one option for over 55s. The most common type is a lifetime mortgage. This enables you to take out a loan against your property that doesn't need to be repaid until you die or go into long-term care. Be warned that the way interest compounds over time can make borrowing via a lifetime mortgage very expensive. For example, if you took out a lifetime mortgage worth £100,000 at a rate of 4.5%, you'd owe £196,156 after 15 years, nearly double the amount you originally borrowed. You could let out a room under the rent-a-room scheme. You can earn up to £7,500 a year without paying income tax. You must offer fully furnished accommodation in your main home to qualify. Timing matters. David Fell argues that a slower property market, as we're in currently, is often better for would-be downsizers, giving them more time to line up their onward purchase before selling their own home. This, in theory, makes now a good time to consider a move. That needs to be set against pressures in the mortgage market, however. While many downsizers don't need a mortgage, younger families wanting to purchase a bigger home probably will, and interest rates are currently higher than most buyers would like. Experts widely expect the Bank of England to cut the base rate this year, which will lead mortgage rates to fall. They're unlikely to fall as low as they were during the COVID pandemic, however. Estate agent Savills predicts property prices will fall 3% this year, before rising 3.5% in 2025 and 5% in 2026. Key questions to ask yourself. What's the best location? This might be an easy decision if you want to stay local or be near family, but if you're tempted to try somewhere new, check our guide on the best places to retire in the UK, which.co.uk/best-places-to-retire. We've rated areas on their parks and playing fields, healthcare facilities and resident happiness. It's worth considering which you value most. Working out how much you want to spend should reflect both how you'll use your new home, such as if you want friends and family to be able to stay, and how much money you wish to release. If you're looking to pass on money, unlocking value from property earlier means you can take advantage of annual tax-free gifting and potentially exempt transfers. You can give gifts of any size free of inheritance tax if you do so at least 7 years before your death. Don't ignore retirement villages. There can be a good sense of community and there's often help on hand should you need it, but properties can be expensive. How could downsizing be made easier? According to Savills, homeowners over 65 are currently sitting on net housing wealth of $6.2 trillion. Simultaneously, many young families struggle to get on the property ladder. A recent London School of Economics and University of Sheffield report called for stamp duty to be scrapped for older buyers looking to downsize, or deferred until their death. But despite support from a handful of MPs, nothing was forthcoming in the recent spring budget. Many members we surveyed also wanted improvements in the way the property market works. For example, one who'd downsized to a flat felt their leasehold should be abolished. They said, "I downsized to a leasehold flat and it's become intolerable. The management company has been awful and my agent was untrustworthy." Meanwhile, analyst David Fell adds, "The incentive to downsize is going to be driven by the market providing the right homes. I think house builders currently aren't doing enough to cater for people in their 60s and 70s who want to downsize. There's a big gap in the market begging to be filled."
Lucia Ariano was reading that piece by Josh Wilson, originally published in Which Money's May edition. Want to subscribe and get the magazine delivered direct to your door? I'll pop a link in the description of today's show. Remember, you can find more articles you'll find useful every day on everything from money and technology to home and garden advice by signing up to one of our many free email newsletters at which.co.uk/newsletters. We'll be back next week for another episode of Which Shorts. Thanks for listening. Which Short was produced and edited by me, James Rowe, while the exec producer was Grace Farrell.
"2023 was momentous in the fight against fraud. It saw the passing of the Online Safety Act and the Financial Services and Markets Act. Both of these happening after years of exhaustive campaigning from us here at Which. But the battle against scams is far from over. Stay in the know and avoid falling victim to scammers by joining over 450,000 others who have signed up to our Which Scam Alerts. To sign up, head to which.co.uk/scam alert today.